So Microsoft is currently experiencing a lot of layoffs, and they're probably gonna quit in gaming because, yeah, Microsoft completely sucks at gaming. If you haven't noticed, Xbox has literally died. And hopefully, most of these layoffs are gonna be Bethesda. I At this point, I'd rather not see Fallout 5 being made, Elder Scrolls 6 being made, than see it being eviscerated by the idiot, talentless losers at Bethesda.
It's starting to set in for a lot of Fallout fans that even despite us having a pretty good run of games in the 2010s, we now might be looking at a decade plus wait for the next Fallout game. In this video, I want to break down
Does that sentence imply Fallout 76 was good?
when we can realistically expect to see that. Some people are saying mid-2030s, but is that real? Or some of the other more optimistic takes possible, like a new Fallout game this decade or even this year? Because as crazy as it sounds while doing the research,
We're gonna get a Fallout game. It's been forever. The show's popping off. Season 2 of the Fallout TV series has not yet failed, and it's gonna. That's my prediction. That's my big Bethesda failed prediction. The currently biggest one, the closest one. Because it's gonna be bad, okay? Trust me on this. Go watch my previous videos discussing why the Fallout TV show is good. Season 2 is gonna be like probably the worst thing ever. But you know, considering it's happening, Fallout 5 must happen. Some kind of Fallout game, new thing, new whatever Fallout, whatever has to happen. There's 100% a chance for this. Listen, I was right about CDPR and them releasing an expansion. Didn't expect it to be a Witcher expansion, but now it looks like it's a Witcher and Cyberpunk expansion potentially. And the same needs to happen with Fallout. All of the signs are there. And I'm good at seeing these signs because my horoscope says I'm good at seeing. Okay, I work for the government and finance, if you don't know. Pretty smart somehow, even though I look retarded.
for this video, I realized Fallout 5 might be even further than you think, but that might also be okay. For starters, it seems increasingly likely that the next Fallout game isn't going to be Fallout 5, and very possibly won't even be made by Bethesda Game Studios at all. And if you're dying for this game, a change of dev is probably a good thing. The simple reality is the Fallout TV show has changed things. In 2021, we heard how Phil Spencer was considering shutting down Fallout 76, but now in 2025, the game is getting its biggest update ever. This seems to be a result of the Fallout TV show. Todd Howard himself told Variety, "You're looking at a 4 to 6x increase in daily players, which is beyond anything I've seen in my 30 years of doing this." And what makes this situation unique is that somehow Xbox and Bethesda weren't expecting this large of a boost, which, yeah, even from some of
No one was expecting that. That boost was astronomical.
their own updates, it was pretty clear they weren't fully prepared for 6x the players on their games. But then Xbox started reacting. Right in the midst of all this Fallout hype in April of 2024, insider Jez Corden said he heard Microsoft were formulating plans for how to get the next Fallout game here sooner rather than later.
I recognized this skate. I recognized this skate instantaneously.
Said he heard Microsoft were formulating plans for how to get the next Fallout game here sooner rather than later. Microsoft was realizing at the time, oh, we can't just wait around for Bethesda to do it, this needs to happen sooner. And Jez even mentions it could be a game releasing this decade, and his guess was Obsidian could be the developer behind it. And while at first, Phil Spencer,
Which, by the way, is equally bad. Obsidian made Avowed. Avowed is effectively a Fallout game, and it sucked major dicks. The Outer World 2 looks like an absolute disaster. So Obsidian making a new Fallout game is not a lot better than Bethesda making a new Fallout game. So all our hopes are looking not good. Not good in the slightest, sadly.
spun not having a new Fallout game as an opportunity for Microsoft. More recently, when talking to Variety about game tie-ins to some of their shows, he says, "But I wouldn't say we perfected that, of being ready and having a date when we know the show was going to come out, and really we learned from it, is the best way of putting it." And while he does continue on to say that right now, releasing a movie side by side with a game is beyond their creative capability, what I found interesting here was the contrast. Phil Spencer obviously sees value here in more content around show releases. This is an area they haven't perfected just yet, but are seemingly learning from their mistakes. That is
Yeah. Xbox made the Halo TV series. The Fallout TV show would have literally never happened if Microsoft did not buy Bethesda. Because Todd Howard was never gonna make a TV show because he knew how bad Bethesda is. He probably understands how absolutely shit Bethesda is at this point, but he can't admit it because that would mean that he kind of has led Bethesda in a completely ruinous direction. But, because of Microsoft, now things are going to change because Microsoft is very, very financially unhappy with what Bethesda is doing, with everything Bethesda has gotten them. Microsoft paid 8 to 9 billion to acquire Bethesda, and they got fucking Starfield with that. Starfield. Can you imagine paying $80 for Starfield? No, you fucking can't. Can you imagine paying 8 billion for Starfield? Yeah. Yeah. That's really bad, isn't it? And, well, they also acquired Blizzard, and Blizzard's also underperforming. I mean, Blizzard literally went viral for how stupid World of Warcraft now is. Cat got in a wheelchair, and all of the DEI shit that's implemented in there. It's a joke. So Microsoft is looking. Microsoft is going to push a Fallout game, good or bad, because they need some money from their investment. Otherwise, they look like idiots.
Is completely different to what Todd Howard has been saying, the person we typically view as the head of Fallout, during his interview with Mr. Matty Plays last year.
We don't feel like we need to rush any of that. Right now, the Fallout TV show fills a certain niche in terms of the franchise and storytelling. Totally get the desire for a new kind of mainline single player game. And look, those things take time. I don't think it's bad for people to miss things.
Right.
As well. So we just want to get it right and make sure that everything we're doing in a franchise, whether it's Elder Scrolls or Fallout or now Starfield, that those become meaningful moments for everybody who love these franchises as much as we do.
So Todd Howard doesn't mind waiting a bit longer for Fallout 5, but it seems like Phil Spencer is more interested in getting things done sooner, and the best option for something sooner is Obsidian Entertainment. Right now, Bethesda is busy with the Elder Scrolls 6, but Obsidian happens to be the only other major studio with experience working on a Fallout game, and in 2025, this year, two massive teams at Obsidian
I think there's not a single person left at Obsidian who even worked at on New Vegas.
Open up as both Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2 are releasing/have released. And the fun part is, this is exactly...
Bro, again, this is exactly the problem. Look at this. You know what this is? I covered this. We watched the gameplay footage of The Outer Worlds 2, and let me summarize. This is a cancer gun, guys! We know you complained about this not being a roleplay game and all the options sucking, so we gave you a cancer gun. How about that? And more guns! We have a confetti gun. It levels up with you! I'm sure that's very exciting and whatnot. I'm sure it's the most exciting, in fact.
Released. And the fun part is, this is exactly how we got Fallout New Vegas. Bethesda was too busy with Skyrim, but wanted a new Fallout game, and even back then, Obsidian was available and had a bunch of devs who had worked on Fallout previously. The exact same thing is true in 2025. Right now, there's no actual evidence that Obsidian is working on a new Fallout game, but there is definitely some stuff that is interesting. Obsidian's head of studio has said for years he wanted to make a new Fallout game. The first hint that something could be coming was in 2022, after Microsoft officially owned Fallout, so Obsidian, for the first time ever, could again work on a Fallout game. Jeff Grubb said he heard that early talks of an Obsidian Fallout game were happening.
Wait, doesn't this just make... Knowing that this is just a fake-ass set, doesn't that just, detract from what you think about Bethesda and Microsoft as a company? To know that this is actually just sterile and fucking fake?
Obsidian, for the first time ever, could again work on a Fallout game. Jeff Grubb said he heard that early talks of an Obsidian Fallout game were happening internally at Microsoft.
Gee, I wonder who Jeff Grubb stole that information from this time.
Very early. This is very early, but people have begun to have talks and say these words in sentences, and those words are Obsidian and New Vegas 2. I will say that there's at least an interest and conversations being had about making something like that actually a reality.
And even just last year, Lex Luddy, editor-in-chief of Start Menu, backed this up. I can say the discussion Grubb brought up years ago of Obsidian being approached about Fallout New Vegas 2, that did happen. I also know that it wasn't just Bethesda being like, hey, we don't want someone else making this game. It was also partly Obsidian going, that would be a huge scale for us that we have backed away from. And they even go on to say there's currently no Fallout in development. It is very unlikely that Obsidian are going to be the people to make the next Fallout. That was April of 2024. Right around the same time, Jez Corden was hearing Microsoft wants a new Fallout game out sooner. Then, a few months later, in July of 2024, an art director at Obsidian started working on some type of new project. This might not be a new Fallout game, but we don't really know what it is. Grounded 2 was just announced, but it seems like that began development a bit earlier. In January of 2025, the lead writer on Fallout New Vegas, John Gonzalez, took a creative director job at Obsidian to work on a new opportunity that he straight up couldn't resist. And I honestly think there could be something here. On LinkedIn, he even sways away from Fallout, saying it's not New Vegas 2, but only shortly before John Gonzalez switched to working at Obsidian, he gave an interview to the successful screenwriter about Fallout New Vegas and his life. At this point, just in 2024, he was a narrative director working on a totally new IP, but he describes being super excited about that opportunity to make a new IP finally. And I mean, just listen to the way he talks about Fallout in this interview.
And before that, I had heard these rumors. There were these sort of stirrings that the studio might be doing something that would be for Fallout. And I thought, damn it, I wish I could be working on that, because I just adore Fallout. Fallout was one of my favorite series.
I don't know, at least to me, it kind of seems like that unresistible opportunity to come back to Obsidian, after seemingly already having a great opportunity to write a new IP, could be a new Fallout.
Wait a minute, I absolutely love that people just need to look at all of this shit. They need to look at LinkedIn profiles, who's going here, have these probably elaborate whiteboard pictures and diagrams of, okay, this is how we know that that there's going to be some kind of Fallout game announced soon. Well, meanwhile, I and literally everyone else who understands numbers can just look at this and be like, yeah, the only thing that makes sense here now is a Fallout game. And yeah, all the numbers point towards that direction. The Fallout show increasing the numbers so drastically, that's a huge opportunity. The fact that the Fallout franchise has not been made in such a long time, that by itself screams everything that it fits in there. Like, all of these things. You can figure out that these things are happening just by numbers. Again, it's so easy to figure this stuff out.
Fallout game. It's not New Vegas 2, but maybe it's just some other Fallout spin-off title. And if you're not familiar with John Gonzalez, you should be. Josh Sawyer always gets brought up as kind of being the guy for Fallout New Vegas that people look to. But John Gonzalez was right there with him, and a lot of your favorite aspects of Fallout New Vegas were written by John Gonzalez. So the fact that he's back at Obsidian, regardless of what he's working on, whether it be new Fallout or not, is pretty exciting to me. What makes it even more exciting is, I think it actually might be a Fallout game. This sounds like somebody who is incredibly passionate about Fallout. It just kind of seems like that unresistible opportunity might be a new Fallout game at Obsidian. It's not New Vegas 2, but maybe it's just some other Fallout spin-off title. John Gonzalez spent...
There is a chance, but it doesn't matter. Again, Bethesda's incapable of doing Fallout. Obsidian is incapable of doing Fallout. So it doesn't really matter. I hope it's not Fallout.
A ton of time working with the Fallout New Vegas director Josh Sawyer while at Obsidian. He actually talks about this a ton in this interview. And right now, we don't know what Josh Sawyer is working on. But in 2018, 2022, and 2024, Josh Sawyer said he would work on Fallout again. But even if all of this was somehow true, and that's a big if, it would still likely be a 2028 to 2029 Fallout game at the absolute soonest. Although, to me, this feels incredibly possible. Like, at this point, outside of Lex Luddy, everyone here seems to be on board with a new Obsidian Fallout. Obsidian wants it, fans want it, and apparently Microsoft also wants more Fallout out sooner. I personally would guess that the next major Fallout title that isn't a remaster or a remake will be an Obsidian Fallout game. The unfortunate reality is it's still likely years away. But then we might also get a Fallout 3 remaster. This game finds itself in a more interesting spot as a lot of external factors are at play right
The remaster is not going to affect anything, I think. They're going to be just spaced out so they don't overlap.
Right now, Fallout is super hot thanks to the TV show. It just really elevated the brand as a whole. And then of course the shadow dropping of Oblivion Remastered has been a giant success for Bethesda and Xbox. It genuinely seems to have exceeded expectations. So now,
some kind of small fly just, buzzing around like this. How did it even get inside?
all of that hype is being redirected into a potential Fallout 3 remaster, and to me it just feels like hype around this game is higher than ever right now, but there's a problem. While it does seem almost certain that a Fallout 3 remaster is coming, I've personally heard that it's real, it popped up on this leaked Bethesda roadmap, and Nate the Hate, the person
We talked about the leak, but there's the roadmap, it's bullshit.
to correctly leak Oblivion Remastered, said a Fallout 3 remaster is also coming, but won't be for a while, and that does seem to be the problem here. We know Oblivion Remastered started production in 2021, and of course dropped in the first half of 2025. That's 3.5 years of dev time. But from that first leak, we also heard that a 2024 date was possible, and that is even backed up by this roadmap, but that does suggest that a Fallout 3 remaster
Oh god, we talked about this roadmap, why it's stupid, like, oh, if you just put all the numbers up by 2, it makes sense, except the parts that don't actually add up anyway. We talked about this, how stupid this is. Oh, Jesus.
in the same style needs years of dev time still. I think one of the big clues backing this up is that Jez Corden leak I talked about earlier. Microsoft said in April of 2024 that they want a Fallout game out ASAP. If your Fallout 3 remaster is right around the corner, that statement doesn't make a ton of sense. Some fans think it could drop this year to go along with Season 2 of the Fallout TV show in December. Well,
that is very likely. But, I mean, I think they expect Season 2 to not be as hot as Season 1. Because that would be the reasonable assumption. Because Season 1 was hot because all the tourists, literally, it was just tourist city. The people who had no idea what Fallout is were watching it. It just hit the normies so hard.
some others are convinced that a 2026 date is probable, due to so many games on this roadmap coming out 2 years after the listed date. So many are like, oh yeah, 2026. This roadmap obviously gives us that answer, but I personally think people are looking at it wrong. My prediction is that the Fallout 3 remaster is around Season 3 of the show, and will likely be out in roughly 2 years in 2027. That is the stated gap they had on this roadmap between the Oblivion remaster and the Fallout 3 remaster. They likely want to use a major portion of the team who just did this for Oblivion to do it again for Fallout 3. Although if anything, I could see them trying to speed up the development of this one thanks to that insane demand. I think more so than almost anything else, a Fallout 3 remaster could be the next Fallout game we're actually playing. But it coming out this year seems incredibly unlikely, and even 2026
it's gonna come out slightly after the TV show if they are trying to bank on the hype. Again, I think the Season 2 is gonna be a disaster. I am 100% convinced Season 2 of the Fallout TV show is gonna do potatoes, compared to Season 1.
seems very optimistic. I think 2027 is the earliest date we could say is realistic.
And one of the main reasons is because all of the good storylines are done, the goal is done, Lucy is done, and now you have fucking Maximus, which no one cares about, and other shit that doesn't make sense. So, well, what's there left to tell in the Fallout TV series? Nothing.
Based off all of this information we have. But this still might be ahead of some of your own personal expectations, because yeah, I'm predicting, and I do personally think, we could see both a new Fallout spin-off game from some company, Obsidian being the frontrunner, as well as a Fallout 3 remastered this decade, before 2030. But unfortunately, Fallout 5 itself is still likely years away, and it may be even further than you think. In 2021, Todd Howard confirmed that Bethesda already had a one-pager on Fallout 5.
We have a one-pager on Fallout 5, what we want to do. Again, if I could wave my hand and say, have
Right.
that out.
But in 2022, we got the most informative quote yet, as a tired Todd Howard explicitly lays out that Fallout 5 is coming next after The Elder Scrolls 6.
Elder Scrolls 6 is in pre-production.
Thankfully, we can never literally take anything Bethesda says for truth.
And, we're going to be doing Fallout 5 after that. So our slate's pretty full going forward.
And by the way, if you take this as true, that means Yeah, Fallout 5 maybe is happening, what, the soonest 2032? Maybe? Maybe, if we're lucky?
But what I could find is the most up-to-date quote on this comes in 2023, just one more year later. Once again, talking to Ryan McCaffrey of IGN, Ryan starts referencing Todd's statements from the previous year, but Todd Howard cuts him off to clarify.
And then last year, when we talked, you said, yep, Fallout 5, I want to do that, that'll be next.
That was more of like a general, it will clearly be after Elder Scrolls 6.
Never trust a man that is 5'2", or anything below 6'2", okay? It is what it is, boys. Short kings, be kings somewhere else.
At some point.
Okay,
That's
well,
like, let me clarify that one.
all right, go ahead.
At some point in the future.
But
Like Elder Scrolls 6 is the next one.
yeah.
And that is interesting. Ryan McCaffrey was just
Something off here. Do you think his bench is on another bench? Something off here. There's some kind of trickery here. Either this guy is also short, which doesn't seem to be the fact, but listen, okay? This guy is sitting like a normal person. You know, his elbows are on the things are there, and his ass is there, and you can see that it takes a lot of space. Todd Howard though seems like 5 times smaller than the chair, and these chairs are not big, by the way, and yet he is somehow arguably, even though he's not even being he's not even sitting straight here, he has an incline, he's somehow probably slightly higher with the headline than this guy. Something ain't right here. There's some kind of optical illusion employed here to make Todd Howard look like not a midget compared to this guy. Or this guy is also a midget, but then why is the chair? Why is the chair different? Like, what is happening here? Could it be? No, it can't be. No, it could not be. I was thinking maybe Todd Howard's chair is actually more to the front of the camera than the guy, and they're just pretending that they are at the same level when they move like this. But no, that would be impossible because the eyes are looking straight at Toddy. Something is happening here, and I don't know what.
Scroll 6 is the next one.
Yeah.
And that is interesting. Ryan McCaffrey was just making the point that if Starfield is awesome, Bethesda Game Studios already has the Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5 lined up. So you'd have that same exact situation with Starfield with a decade plus between games. But Todd Howard cut him off to clarify that Fallout 5 might not be next anyway. At the time, I didn't really think too much of this. This was in 2023 before we even had Starfield. But now, while doing some of the research for this video, could Bethesda actually be doing another game before Fallout 5? That was in 2023, but in 2024, we heard Fallout 5 come up a ton from all of the Fallout TV show interviews. This is where Todd Howard comments on not feeling a need to rush Fallout games, as the TV show fills a certain niche for the franchise. And what makes this even more interesting is, in 2024, Todd Howard was explicitly asked, is the plan still the Elder Scrolls 6 and then Fallout 5? I honestly think this interviewer was trying to see if Fallout 5 would hop the Elder Scrolls 6 and come out even sooner, but Todd Howard responds, I'm going to avoid putting dates on anything. I've learned that the hard way. So obviously our focus as far as new development right now is the Elder Scrolls 6, but that doesn't mean we're not making plans for other things. These quotes certainly make me wonder if Bethesda Game Studios has something else in the works after the Elder Scrolls 6, but before Fallout 5. Bethesda not working on Fallout 5 ASAP does feel kind of crazy, but at the same time, if we genuinely do have 2 other Fallout games out this decade, maybe Bethesda genuinely doesn't feel a need to rush Fallout 5, which Todd Howard is explicitly saying in some of these interviews. I just sort of didn't believe him. Because
wait, what are the things that we have this decade? I mean, Fallout 76? Does that count even? No, 76 was almost 10 years ago at this point. Is he talking about some kind of, I don't know, like Fallout Shelter or something like that? I'm not even sure what these Fallout games he's referring to are.
Right around right now, Fallout 5 should be going into pre-production internally at Bethesda.
You know, probably by the midpoint of one game, we've had enough conversations to understand.
Oh, we have seen this, okay. So at the end, no one really knows what's happening, but there should be something Fallout in the pipeline in the next 2 years. It just makes sense. And after that, we're like 2 years away from probably Elder Scrolls 6, or its corpse, more precisely, and then everything else goes to shit. It's very cool, very cool, very cool. Anyway, that was our boy Juicehead. 10 out of 10. Bye.